We have a major update regarding the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. A masked individual was spotted at her residence even before the night of the abduction. This information comes directly from individuals close to the ongoing police inquiry. In this center image provided by federal agents, the person of interest is seen standing at the entrance without any luggage. Detective work suggests this specific photograph predates February 1st, which marks the last time she was seen. According to federal reports, different snapshots featuring the suspect carrying a pack were captured on the actual morning she vanished. The victim, Nancy Guthrie, is the parent of the well-known Today Show anchor, Savannah Guthrie. Late today, the Pima County Sheriff informed news outlets that a second person may have helped gain access to the residence. Sheriff Chris Nano noted that although the home had several security devices, they only managed to salvage a single clip of the masked figure. At exactly 2:28 in the morning, the silence inside the Guthrie residence became absolute. It wasn't a cry for help or a security siren. It was her cardiac tracking device flatlining. Moments prior, a dark shadow lingered at the porch, staring directly into the lens before the feed was suddenly severed. Several weeks have passed, and now investigators claim a fresh lead might finally unmask the culprit. Here is the shocking twist that flips the narrative. The genetic markers discovered are not from a random intruder. This suggests the crime was calculated from the start. Authorities now believe the primary error in judgment came from the public, not the killer. For a long time, the world was fixated solely on the external events surrounding the Guthrie property. The conversation revolved around the masked man, the broken surveillance, and the tiny window between the last movement and the monitor failing. Fresh updates from the task force confirm that the investigation has shifted away from the entryway. The real story unfolds within the four walls of the house. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie arrived home around 10 o'clock at night following a family gathering. She resided by herself in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona. Those living nearby characterized the neighborhood as a peaceful place where crime was almost unheard of. Having stayed in Tucson for many years, she was quite capable of living alone, even while using a heart sensor synchronized to her smartphone. There was nothing out of the ordinary that night. Surveillance logs prove her garage door was secured at 9:50 p.m. For nearly 180 minutes, the property remained perfectly still. That changed shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning. A shadow in dark attire neared the front porch, and the Ring camera caught a glimpse before the view was blocked and then killed. Police later verified that the physical casing of the camera showed clear evidence of a violent struggle. The Bureau released that specific clip, yet the newest findings are what truly changed the stakes. For weeks, the prevailing theory was that the intruder disabled the security system to get inside. Now, detectives are questioning if someone was already waiting for her indoors. Digital forensic teams analyzing the internal network and phone logs found evidence of movement before the exterior lens was even touched. Though the specifics remain under lock and key, officials are definitely reevaluating the sequence of events that occurred inside the residence. This shift is massive. If the breach happened earlier than suspected, this was a cold, calculated hit. It was premeditated. Furthermore, the FBI confirmed the biological traces found do not belong to Nancy or her relatives. This genetic profile was submitted to the National DNA Database for cross-referencing. The search yielded 0 results. When a profile comes back empty, it usually implies the individual has no prior criminal convictions or simply isn't in the system yet. Consequently, the forensic team has moved beyond standard database searches. While the exact scientific methods haven't been shared with the public, agents have verified they are scrutinizing additional biological samples found throughout the entire premises. This involves microscopic fibers found during the second wave of searches, which is highly unusual. Returning to a scene after it has been cleared usually means fresh intelligence has surfaced or previous clues need a second look. In this particular case, investigators went back into the Guthrie home several days after their initial exit. They moved markers, rephotographed items, and took another look at every electronic device. The reason for this, according to the lead agents, is that the facts simply did not add up. This entire pivot hinges on a 16-minute window between the last outside clip and the sensor shutdown. For weeks, that window was the case. Now, detectives think the trouble started before the clock even began ticking. That implies they knew the layout well, which is exactly why the focus has shifted. Even with the pressure mounting, police keep saying nobody has been formally accused yet. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has made it clear that they are exploring every single angle. The Bureau agrees. though they have definitely been through one specific house several times. Annie Guthrie and her husband, Tommaso Hayan, stay about 4 miles down the road from her mother. Public records show that cops hit their place twice, once by choice and once with a court order. Detectives aren't saying what exactly gave them the green light for that second visit. They won't say what they took, but remember, judges only sign second warrants when there is probable cause. This was not just a routine check. It means they suspect something is there, it's intense pressure, even if it's not a conviction. Tommaso Chian was officially the final person to be with Nancy, having driven her home after they ate. That timeline has been backed up by both the family and the lead detectives. In these big cases, the last person to see the victim is always the first one scrutinized. But what really changes the game here is how the clock stacks up. Sources say the task force is obsessing over very specific movements right after Nancy was let off. Those details are private, but they're digging through GPS logs and how a car moved that night. Cell pings and timestamps are the new leads everyone is talking about lately, not a confession. There's no big arrest yet. This is all about high-tech data crunching and digital trails. They're looking at alarm logs, phone signals, car computers, and even Wi-Fi records. Even without clear video, metadata usually paints a much more honest picture than any witness can. Cops are stitching together every bit of digital info to rebuild that night second by second. That deep dive is still happening, but it's already helped them identify a person of interest. No names have dropped yet, but they admit the circle of suspects is getting much smaller. When asked if the family is cleared, Nanos was blunt. No one has a clean bill yet. That's a heavy statement. It shows the case is still wide open and moving fast. It's also a warning to keep the rumors in check until the facts come out. We have to stop and recognize the profile here. Nancy is the mother of Today Show's Savannah Guthrie. This means the press goes into overdrive and the internet starts spinning wild tales. Police, however, work at a crawl because they need rock-solid proof before they move. And proof takes patience, especially with the FBI sifting through over 30,000 different leads. Every single call must be logged while the crime lab works through the physical evidence. Finding Nancy is now worth a $100,000 reward. That is split 50-50 between the feds and her kin. Rewards grow when they need a nudge. They don't throw that much money around unless they think a breakthrough is close. Investigators have been scouring tapes from every home and shop within 5 miles of the scene. There is one specific video segment, captured miles away, showing a person with a bag that looks just like the one the intruder had. While they haven't linked that person officially, they are obsessed with where they were and when. In this case, timing is everything. If a car made it between those points, they'll find the route. Every stoplight cam, plate scanners, and street eyes can map that journey. That's how modern detectives build a case. The whole story is shifting now. For a while, it was about a mysterious boogeyman in a mask. Now, they're asking if the culprit was someone who already knew exactly where to go. This nuance alters society's view. Since freak incidents lack patterns, precise hits leave trails. It all boils down to prep work. While we film this, nobody is behind bars yet. Official indictments remain pending, though police state fresh leads have narrowed the search. Consequently, this investigation has evolved beyond a simple missing persons report. It centers on pinpointing someone. If this is your first visit, hit that follow button. We ignore the clickbait. We monitor progress. We vet every claim. When fresh proof alters the narrative, we explain it simply, avoiding rumors or hype. Because in these mysteries, being exact is everything. Nancy Guthrie remains unfound. Her relatives keep begging the community for leads, while Savannah Guthrie spoke to audiences personally, urging anyone with tips to call the cops. Their remarks remain calm and avoid pointing fingers. They seek answers, and detectives are matching that effort by constructing a rock-solid legal file. Our upcoming segment explores the electronic timeline rebuild. The way police probe household networks, car telemetry, and mobile logs to see if a person of interest path aligns with found objects. While this fresh proof seems subtle, it could prove vital. When officials claim they have a lead, they typically mean something specific. The numbers indicate a direction as the net tightens. Nancy Guthrie vanished before dawn on February 1st, 2026. From then on, every moment is logged, save one. That 60-second gap likely involves a person whom the police are currently naming. 14 days in, the task force focused solely on one goal: mapping travel through hard stats, ignoring gossip and guesses. Facts. The Pima County Sheriff verified that several types of electronic proof are being scrutinized. This involves phone histories, router logs, car computer stats, and specific location markers. If tangible clues go cold, electronic trails frequently bridge the divide. Just like in this situation, probers started with the victim's own gear. Her smartphone, computer pad, and internet hub were seized for lab copying. Tech experts pull full drive images first to protect internal logs, timestamps, sign-in history, hidden apps, and web activity. Officials noted that her electronics sent nothing out once she entered her house that evening. No dialing, zero SMS, and zero 911 calls. Such silence speaks volumes. It implies she either lacked the chance to reach out or her mobile was unreachable. Then, tower tracking began. Police pulled signal data from masts surrounding the residence throughout those pre-dawn hours. Service companies keep registries showing every gadget that linked to local antennas. Detectives aren't seeking identities yet. Instead, they hunt for strange signals that flared up, then vanished. Short-lived signals stay visible. Insider reports suggest experts pinpointed various hardware linking to masts near the home within that specific time frame. The majority matched typical local neighborhood habits. Some didn't fit. Those specific IDs are now being followed through billing files and past travel habits. This is routine for planned kidnappings. Consistency outweighs single events. Meanwhile, cops analyzed onboard car systems. Today's cars archive more info than owners suspect. Start times, entry points, distance gaps, and satellite maps. Even cars lacking paid GPS usually store incident logs deep inside. Once police serve search papers for an automobile, they download the internal processor's data. Look, this method shows if a vehicle traveled during certain hours and if any latches were triggered. Local deputies verified that one car linked to the mystery underwent a legal search. They haven't shared results yet, but here's what the formal press releases tell us. The car check happened right after fresh electronic links appeared. The chronology is vital. When driving records match mysterious phone usage, the task force builds a much clearer timeline. Simultaneously, the hunt for local footage ramped up. Officers visited homes across a wide-ranging area. They asked for footage from personal alarms, porch cams, and gate monitors. For residential probes, home clips beat municipal feeds since backyard cams record continuous action instead of quick street blips. Official teams meticulously combed through endless door cam recordings along every possible approach. Their focus extends far beyond that single mysterious figure in the mask. Investigators are hunting for recurring cars, suspicious circling, or headlights cutting out right before a stop. Such habits help build a psychological sketch, while detectives also scrutinized local electricity usage reports. Power companies keep detailed logs concerning even the slightest flickers in current. Sudden changes in nearby home lighting can often pinpoint exactly when someone moved through the area. While it sounds trivial, it really isn't. In silent cases, these electronic traces tell the story. Turning to the home's interior, experts were brought in to synchronize every available digital pulse. This technique knits together mobile pings, Wi-Fi activity, and vehicle telemetry into one master chronology. The objective is simple: find the lies. If a phone wakes up at 1:12 a.m., but the main security hub stays totally dark, that specific silence requires a real answer. Law enforcement hasn't yet gone public with the exact contradictions they have uncovered. They did confirm that this timeline forced them to re-examine people close to Nancy. It's a tactical move. Police are now weighing previous alibis against the cold, hard reality of digital clock cycles. In major probes, every sit-down is filmed, because the specific choice of words reveals everything. Detectives hunt for timing discrepancies, watching for those tiny alterations in a story over several days. That is precisely where the mental aspect of the investigation starts to take center stage. When recounting events, real memories stay firm, while fabricated details tend to warp under intense scrutiny. Sheriff Chris Nanos noted that while they check for truthfulness, no formal suspects have been named yet. Choosing those specific phrases is vital for keeping all legal and investigative options wide open. Meanwhile, federal agents joined the local squad to help crunch through mountains of raw data. National resources provide a massive boost, particularly when charting complex virtual footprints and locations. The Bureau confirmed that profilers are involved, though their work doesn't technically prove anyone is guilty. Instead, it weighs probabilities by studying how a person plans, takes risks, and navigates their surroundings. With elderly victims, specialists look to see if the crime was a random chance or a targeted hit. Targeted attacks usually reveal a deep understanding of daily habits, weak spots, and silent entry methods. These specific indicators have now become the primary focus of the entire forensic review. Publicly, the lead detectives mentioned finding no obvious signs of a break-in at any main entrance. That phrasing was very intentional, as it certainly doesn't mean the intruder stayed outside. It hints that the person either found an open door or knew the layout well, which shrinks the list. At this specific point, the physical search for clues meets the study of the human mind. Those who plan crimes often run through them mentally first, picturing every hurdle to lower their risk. Modern electronic trails can actually prove whether someone was practicing for the event beforehand. Examples include suspicious drive-bys caught on camera or personal phones pinging nearby towers days in advance. In-car GPS logs might also show the vehicle hovering near the scene long before the actual date. While the brass won't confirm specific hits, they have admitted that past location history is being scrutinized. If a signal pops up near the house multiple times, it gets flagged. Meanwhile, money trails are being followed. Every credit card swipe or online order is checked to see if it hints at a calculated setup. Buying certain gear early on could link a person to the crime scene, though officials remain tight-lipped. They did confirm that banking history was legally seized, a process that requires a judge's direct approval. Each legal request must prove why that specific information is critical to solving the mystery. By the close of the second week, the digital reconstruction had highlighted a much smaller group of people. The police use very guarded language, calling individuals persons of interest until an arrest is truly imminent. That label describes someone whose actions or physical location simply haven't been fully explained yet. This technicality safeguards the case and protects rights. Now, let us examine the possible motives. Professional sleuths prioritize cold hard facts over reasons, letting proof dictate the why. Was there a cash incentive? Was it a grudge? Did the culprit have motives outside of the inner circle? Currently, police haven't confirmed any specific line of thinking. Still, authorities admit they are digging through policy payouts, inheritance papers, and past digital chats. Such steps are standard practice whenever an older person living alone goes missing. Following protocol doesn't signal guilt. It simply shows the team is being extremely careful. This mystery gripped the country largely due to Nancy's daughter, Savannah Guthrie, the famous NBC News host. Fame brings intense pressure. While the heat is on, police insist they are following the trail of clues rather than the victim's status. All the while, the pile of leads keeps stacking up, surpassing 30,000 entries in the log. The Bureau's hotline stays open, with specialists sifting through the clutter to find genuine clues. Processing these leads requires a strict system: verify, check against data, toss out, or move up. Each promising lead gets compared directly to the electronic history of events. Should a witness mention a certain car, detectives scan security footage to see if it shows up. If a name is dropped, the squad hunts for pings on cell towers and verified whereabouts. Very few leads make it through the sifter. When police mention a narrower search, they mean various clues are finally aligning. Once electronic footprints and camera logs, witness statements, and forensic finds all point the same way, the mystery starts to unravel. We are at that point. The search has moved past the wide net stage into a surgical, step-by-step approach. Soon we will see if the tech trail justifies an arrest or clears the main suspects. Follow us for real updates. Our team tracks the clues as they emerge, distinguishing hard reality from wild internet theories. As soon as a break occurs, you will get the straight story here, devoid of any sensationalist hype. Nancy is still gone, yet the puzzle is finally taking shape, built back up second by second. In today's world, numbers don't deceive. It isn't a matter of if the truth is buried in the logs. The real issue is where that data trail leads. Most people only glimpse a tiny slice of the actual police work. A brief statement, one picture, a phone number. This tragedy broke all the usual rules of reporting. Within days, her story went viral, thrusting the hunt into a goldfish bowl where every police move was critiqued instantly. This heat wasn't just from one source, it was a total bombardment from every possible angle. Big networks and those random social accounts sharing rumors without any proof, sleuth channels racing for views, plus a nasty public argument that favored finger-pointing over the actual truth. Come February 6th, 2026, police admitted they were vetting a fresh communication linked to the disappearance. This update was crucial as it highlighted a pair of vital issues simultaneously. An outsider was attempting to influence the probe, and the squad couldn't trust the source at face value. In famous cases, notes might be a breakthrough, a cruel prank, or a deliberate smokescreen. Detectives must keep an open mind to all three scenarios until they find a reason to discard them. This is the era we live in. People crave instant closure, yet police work doesn't function on popular whim. Their progress relies solely on hard proof. Both the locals and the Bureau reacted predictably to the noise. They tightened their lips but expanded their requests. Through various news channels, the team asked the community for any camera recordings, particularly those featuring cars, road activity, walkers, or odd sights from January 1st, 2026 until February 2nd of that same year. This move shows their dual-track strategy, focusing on the night she vanished while also building a foundation. They are looking for cars or faces that seemed normal weeks ago but might be significant now. By asking the public, they also shifted a portion of the workload onto the local residents. Asking an entire neighborhood to review 30 days of personal security footage is a serious plea. Acknowledging that the smoking gun might be hidden on a hard drive police cannot legally seize yet. It suggests that habits who circled the block and how frequently are just as vital as the actual crime scene. Despite these massive efforts, the formal updates remained very carefully worded. Police departments acted with extreme caution regarding potential culprits, refusing to single out any individual for the crime. Officers dodged claims that might bind them to specific narratives, while the forensics remained unfinished. Such professional discipline frequently gets misinterpreted by the watching public. While the audience views silence as hesitation, detectives recognize this quietness as a vital defensive shield. This tactic keeps witness testimonies pure and untainted. It safeguards upcoming legal trials while ensuring blameless citizens aren't ruined by unverified rumors before a judge sees any proof. However, this stillness opens a gap where speculation thrives, allowing noisier opinions to take root. As early February began, a competing tale emerged to challenge the police records. Press outlets pushed a targeted theory focusing heavily on Tommaso Cioni, who was Nancy Guthrie's relative by marriage. At this junction, general opinion fractured into two distinct camps. One side noted the sheriffs consistently refusing to announce any official targets for their search. Conversely, across the aisle, reporter Ashley Banfield utilized her digital audio show to leak details from a secret insider, painting Guthrie's son-in-law as the primary man of interest. These descriptions went viral instantly, spreading through every social media channel available. The resulting firestorm was far more than a minor disagreement. The probe faced a massive hurdle once the internet judged a man prematurely, turning his every move into proof for armchair detectives lacking the actual files. Everyday actions suddenly look like sinister clues. Keeping quiet seems shady, helping police looks like a ruse, and seeking legal counsel appears to be an admission of guilt. Even showing sorrow is questioned by the mob. This toxic environment often intimidates key observers into staying silent. Furthermore, it complicates the task of filtering leads since callers begin echoing internet rumors instead of reporting what they actually saw. Officers understood the danger ahead. Indeed, when the Banfield allegations took flight, Sheriff Chris Nanos issued a formal rebuttal. News reports highlighted his stance that such journalism was careless and threatened to derail justice while ruining lives. Police departments typically avoid engaging in open warfare with news organizations for specific strategic reasons. Maintaining a functional bond with the press is the goal. Most units aim to control the narrative without starting a loud, distracting brawl. Thus, when a high-ranking officer openly condemns a story, it signals that external chatter is actively sabotaging the actual detective work. Besides, the issue went beyond mere meddling. Professional limits were being crossed as well. Deputies needed to inform citizens that the mystery far exceeded one host's theories without leaking clues, stressing that fame doesn't grant people the right to know a person's name before it's proven. Simultaneously, Banfield refused to retreat or apologize. Journalists noted her persistence in backing her informant, particularly when she appeared on the Dan Abrams radio program to validate her stance. This specific conversation escalated the conflict by bringing the fight to a national audience, portraying the situation as a direct duel, a hidden whistleblower against a formal rejection. Such is the pitfall that often ensnares major criminal inquiries. Observe how the focus shifts when the central question becomes who told the falsehood. Attention drifts from the primary objectives, which are finding the disappeared victim and pinning the crime on the guilty party using solid, courtroom-ready facts. This transcends mere journalism issues to become a mental hurdle, as social shaming fundamentally alters human conduct. Individuals holding key facts turn hesitant. A few get scared, while others go on the attack to protect themselves. Many conclude that total silence is the best path to avoid becoming the internet's latest victim. Consequently, these social dynamics create obstacles that police simply cannot overlook. A prime illustration of this occurred in the way detectives process various pieces of incoming information. Federal agents issued a bulletin offering cash for help finding Nancy Guthrie, or for the capture and sentencing of those who harmed her. This announcement serves as a screening tool rather than just a plea. Behavior changes once money enters the equation. Doubters finally speak up, while others seek a quick payday. Ultimately, the bounty generates a massive influx of data. Agents must then distinguish truth from fiction. The sheer amount of data in this file came with a significant price tag in hours. Each lead requires documentation. Every bit of hearsay needs cross-referencing with established details. Should someone report seeing the victim, police must verify if the coordinates and clock match the actual evidence. When a caller identifies a suspect, detectives weigh whether that name came from personal experience or from digital gossip. In truth, the general population misses the point. Detectives aren't just collecting clues, they are acting as gatekeepers for accuracy. Once a crime reaches the big leagues, the hotlines become clogged with panic, vanity, and calculated lies rather than just cold facts. Certain individuals truly desire to assist. Others simply wish to insert themselves into the drama. People mimic titles, others echo clips, some parrot comments. The real work is filtering. Here, that filtering happened under a spotlight, because Nancy Guthrie is related to Savannah Guthrie, a television icon. That high-level link transformed a local mystery into a massive national headline overnight. Reporting focused on the family's celebrity status, drawing in audiences who had never heard of the Catalina foothills before. That fame brought crushing pressure and a public demand for speed. People assume that when a case is famous, it wraps fast. More tools, more cameras, more detectives, more urgency. Yet high-stakes files often crawl for the same reason they accelerate. Every single move becomes delicate. Every search is watched. Every whisper becomes a liability. Every detail release carries massive weight, especially since the family is grieving while under the public's constant scrutiny. This is where human tragedy meets police procedure, feeling heavy without needing any graphic details to make a point. Begging for help is one thing. Defending your reputation against wild internet theories is a completely different struggle. As public chatter grew, reports show Sheriff Nanos finally intervened, clearing the Guthries and condemning the heartless media focus that treated them as suspects. Such statements are rare. They act like a firm boundary, ensuring the law won't let speculation victimize the family twice. That moment was vital, not for solving the mystery, but for clarifying exactly what was at stake. Police weren't just hunting for Nancy. They were managing the damage caused by baseless public accusations. It's a hard tightrope. If police say too little, the internet fills in the gaps. If they say too much, they risk ruining future interviews, evidence, and the legal prosecution. So, they use gated updates, reward notices, video requests, and vague statements that keep specific names off the record. This chapter matters because new evidence doesn't just refer to laboratory findings or grainy security camera footage. It involves controlling the story. In these files, detectives know more than they reveal, while the public assumes more than has been proven. Those two worlds clash in the media. This collision can either assist the case via real tips or destroy it by turning everything into a spectacle. If you are following this for the right reasons, Here is the rule that counts. Stick to the facts first. No guesses, no clips, and no anonymous leaks repeated until they sound like truth. To follow coverage that sticks to verified reports and official documents, hit that subscribe button now. Not for the numbers, but because these cases get loud fast. You need one source that remains disciplined and never trades accuracy for speed. By the middle of February, detectives still reviewed texts, still gathering civilian video, and still navigating the fallout of a media war that focused on one specific name while the agencies refused to put any name on record. That gap between public demand and what the law can actually prove is where the real stress lives, and pressure warps behavior. It changes witness statements. It changes what people think they saw in the dark. It accelerates rumors, affects how families are treated, and shifts the way law enforcement chooses to communicate with us. Nancy's case tested that entire system, not just the search for the missing, but the process of deciding what truth looks like before any trial begins. This is where we pause. The next step isn't louder news coverage. It is quiet proof. The professionals doing this work know that the moment they choose a suspect publicly, they absolutely need more than just a strong suspicion. They need a file that survives the toughest question of all. Can you prove it? The first big shift in the search didn't come from a briefing. It came from the roadside. So on February 12th, detectives located a black glove roughly 2 miles from Nancy's residence in an open area sitting near the side of the road. The FBI later mentioned it might be linked to the individual captured in the existing security footage. At first glance, a lost glove seems ordinary. In a missing person file, it is anything but. A glove isn't just a piece of clothing. It carries trace evidence, it holds fibers, dirt, and biological bits. It can even show specific wear patterns. It can even help experts determine exactly how long it sat in that specific spot. Federal authorities officially declared that the found item resembles those seen on tape and carries traceable genetic material. Officials chose their words with extreme care, stopping short of saying the accessory definitely belonged to the person filmed. Their claim focuses on visual similarities to the recording while confirming the discovery of a biological signature. This distinction matters because a visual match is merely a lead, not courtroom proof, pushing the case toward fresh clues and suspects. Here is how detectives actually process such an item. After being bagged and tagged, the evidence travels under strict protocols to ensure it remains untampered and secure. Every handoff requires sealing and documentation to preserve its integrity for the courtroom, which clears the way for forensic testing. The process kicks off with a thorough ocular review, capturing high-resolution shots from every side while logging every scuff or stain. Analysts carefully note noticeable features like obvious rips, mysterious residues, or specific brand labels, leading into careful analysis since experts never consume the entire specimen at once. Specialists target high-touch spots like the palms, finger ends, and cuffs where skin cells or sweat usually linger after wear. At that point, the genetic retrieval process starts. Providing the material is sufficient, scientists build a profile, which represents a data set rather than a specific name. Think of it as a string of biological markers meant for comparison, leading to 2 major revelations from the current probe. The Bureau clarified that the item yielded genetic material and bore a striking resemblance to what the suspect wore in videos. Interestingly, local sheriffs mentioned later that the glove's profile failed to hit a database match or link to the victim's residence. Such conflicting reports make sense once you realize that multiple items might be under the microscope simultaneously. Cases often involve various specimens and different genetic sequences being evaluated by the lab at the same time. Regardless, the official word remains that the findings from that specific piece of clothing did not mirror what was found at the house. Why keep the focus there? Because detective work relies on a web of information rather than just one gotcha moment. They are constructing a complex network of cross-reference data points. Differing profiles between the item and the crime scene could point to several participants or perhaps one piece being irrelevant. It also raises the possibility of accidental exposure or some harmless interaction that happened long before the incident occurred. This explains why experts view genetic hits as a compass rather than the final destination in a criminal probe. When the standard national database comes up empty, labs pivot toward more advanced tactics to track down their target. That system only logs individuals with prior criminal records, meaning many citizens remain entirely invisible within that specific file. Failing to find a match there doesn't mean the perpetrator is a ghost. It just means they are off the official radar. It simply signifies their information is missing from that specific federal file. From there, the team has a couple of options. Check the results against other evidence gathered in this folder, or explore private family history sites, provided they follow strict departmental guidelines, legal mandates, and various institutional protocols. Local authorities in Puma County announced they would use consumer DNA sites since the primary search failed, marking a pivotal turning point. Using these public platforms rarely yields a name immediately. Instead, they pinpoint cousins or siblings who agreed to share their data, allowing detectives to work backward through the bloodline. Detectives then construct massive ancestral charts to isolate the culprit, a laborious process that redefines how we identify a suspect. In these types of probes, the target initially appears as a broad group of kinfolk, a specific lineage, or a local demographic, which eventually gets whittled down member by member. This methodology is exactly why the headlines mention fresh clues and a breakthrough in the Nancy Guthrie mystery. We aren't looking at a televised admission of guilt. We are seeing a scientific journey toward a specific identity. That is typically how the most baffling cold cases finally get solved. Solutions usually come from behind closed doors and bureaucratic hurdles, which many observers find frustratingly slow. Whenever authorities mention they are pending lab reports, they are likely navigating the slow waters of sequencing, cross-referencing, verifying accuracy, or seeking permission for deeper searches. News outlets recently highlighted that police were stalled while awaiting the final word on biological samples from garments found nearby. Taking time doesn't signal a dead end. It means the science is working through a complex logic chain, decoding the nuances of revised bulletins. Each term in an official missing persons alert is meticulously selected by federal agents. These posters serve dual purposes, sparking community awareness and narrowing down useful leads. Regional news indicated that new security footage prompted investigators to refresh Nancy Guthrie's search profile. New edits often highlight the physical traits of individuals captured on tape, specifically their outfits, hand-carried luggage, backpacks, movement paths, and contact numbers. While not definitive evidence, these specifics jog memories. A bystander might recall a person in that exact gear. Commuters might remember an odd pedestrian. A cashier could suddenly link a transaction to a face. This process transforms static pixels into tangible human memory. Eventually, that familiarity uncovers an identity. It marks the breakthrough people crave, though it is a quiet discovery rather than a formal charge. It is an internal breakthrough, allowing detectives to cross-reference logs, witness talks, and forensic data. Regarding the police activity at the home, speculation usually explodes when raids or temporary holdings occur. The local sheriff has officially addressed the situation to set the record straight. During the execution of a legal search at any property, occupants are routinely held to ensure the scene remains secure and organized for the team. This distinction is vital. Being held during a search implies no criminal wrongdoing or formal arrest. It is simply about maintaining order. Such clarity safeguards the case from internet rumors turning into fake news. Why do officials go quiet once the findings get more delicate? When scientific data like DNA or forensic matching takes over, departments typically scale back their media releases. Latest bulletins confirmed that on February 24th, authorities in Puma County announced a media blackout unless a major breakthrough occurs. Silence is necessary at a tipping point. You cannot let online gossip influence what witnesses remember. It prevents people from making fake admissions or chasing 15 minutes of fame. Keeping the perpetrator in the dark is key. Actions speak louder than press conferences now. To truly assist, citizens should follow the police's specific plea. Submit raw video, not personal guesses or wild ideas. Video is king. Reports show neighbors within a 2-mile zone were asked for recordings from January 1st through February 2nd. This specific timeline suggests that the detectives think the perpetrator's movements or repeated drive-bys might be hidden within the mundane background of your security tapes. If your goal in following this story is facts rather than hype, you should stay tuned right now because the investigation is at a crossroads. Progress comes from scientific testing and strict legal protocols that finally put a face to a ghost. With a name in hand, every variable is verifiable. Can they be placed at the scene? Did they have a motive? Does their digital footprint match the window of the crime? Are they tied to the physical clues? That discarded item was just the beginning, a scientific gateway to the truth. National attention usually triggers a reaction. Eventually, a person from the outside makes contact. Some leads are genuine. Others are pure fabrications or attempts to grab the spotlight. Occasionally, the guilty party themselves tries to manipulate the narrative from the shadows. By early February 2026, officials were vetting a communication linked to Nancy Guthrie's case. Media outlets called it a note from possible abductors, though that phrasing remains intentionally vague. That single word possible carries a lot of weight right now. Until the source is verified, it is just noise. It indicates someone wants attention, which is a pivotal shift. This initial contact usually sparks a mental battle between the culprit and the police. Detectives must move with speed while remaining completely detached and logical. Every word could be a deceptive snare for the family or a trick to derail the hunt. Details of the communication leaked out through official family channels and news reports. Savannah Guthrie, daughter of the missing and a famous news host, shared a heartfelt video message. Following that footage, the relatives confirm they got a note and are prepared to fund the victim's secure recovery. Such a declaration is never made without serious thought. When families speak openly during these tense situations, they typically anticipate the viewer might buckle under the heat, or experts believe the outcry will trigger a fresh investigative lead. Yet, risks exist. Declaring a payout attracts fraudsters, greedy pranksters, and fame seekers while inviting individuals intent on leading detectives down a dead end. That is why experts treat every note as forensic evidence. It must be proven, not just accepted. Consider the ransom letter and what can be confirmed at that same moment. A media firm reported a supposed demand for millions in digital currency, providing a specific wallet address. The report claimed they confirmed the address exists. Here's what people often miss. Confirming a wallet address is not the same as verifying the sender. Anyone can make one instantly. So, investigators dig deeper than the address, analyzing the blockchain for any prior activity or footprints. They check if that address was ever used for other scams or criminal activities. They watch every coin movement and set traps, so any transaction leaves a clear digital trail. Crypto demands do not prove the sender is brilliant. In many cases, they are just sloppy. Since blockchain data is public, every transfer becomes a line that the authorities can track. That is the conflict. A message might look powerful, but it also paints a target. What must law enforcement decide when they first learn of a message in a missing person case? Crucial decisions happen immediately, like determining if the message was sent directly or through a third party. Contacting a media station is one thing, posting on a public forum is quite another. More layers between the source and the police increase the risk of confusion. Decision 2. Is the kidnapper seeking money or just trying to control the situation? Cash demands are big, but instructions to stay silent or meet alone reveal much more. Such directives usually reveal the sender's fears more than the price tag. Decision 3. Where is the proof? Families and detectives always demand a solid sign of life. Reporting suggests the family insisted on absolute proof Nancy was alive before any negotiations could start. This is a practical move, as scammers will demand cash without offering any verification. Even if a criminal refuses to provide proof, that silence is a useful clue. Every response is a data point. For decision 4, does engaging help or harm? Sometimes experts advise silence, while other times they script a very specific public statement. Speaking without a plan can accidentally reveal what the police do or do not know. It could even cause the suspect to change their plan, which is why rewards are calculated. You can assume the police are watching for a reaction, not just waiting for drama. The sheriff stayed cautious, expressing a careful hope that Nancy might still be found alive. That stance is both a message of hope and a strategy to keep citizens engaged. It ensures clues keep coming and prevents the case from reaching a premature end. Such statements are crafted to keep the story active while serving a second purpose. If the culprit is watching, this pressure could force a mistake or another communication. Experts are trained for this. Why messages often fail to advance the case? When a note goes public, viewers assume a breakthrough is coming, but that is rare. Usually, messages are messy, lack real details, and just recycle what was on the news. They use broad threats and focus on money while trying to stay untraceable. So detectives look for things the sender cannot hide: word choice, phrasing, and technical fingerprints. They analyze device metadata, transmission methods, and specific timing habits, tracking the sender's active windows and their response latency, identifying specific timing gaps, location pings, and mobile network paths, proxy errors, credential logs, and psychological flags regarding public news, such as escalating demands or choosing to remain silent. Broadcasted appeals still contain hidden breadcrumbs that detectives analyze behind closed doors. This silence often creates a false sense of inactivity when massive progress is occurring. It remains hidden from view. Those televised family statements? They were strategic calls to the observer, not merely emotional outbursts. These were calculated signals aimed directly at the captor or a silent witness who has yet to come forward with information. Media outlets characterized Savannah's plea as blunt. It confirmed receipt, offered financial settlements, and requested a direct line of communication. Follow-up reports detailed a second plea begging accomplices or insiders to speak out, focusing entirely on a specific delivery style. Frequently, though, experts suggest avoiding aggressive ultimatums, as hostility triggers instability during negotiations. Instead, families use specific phrasing that invites further engagement from the other side. This bridge isn't for the kidnapper's benefit. It is strictly for tactical advantage. When perpetrators feel a safe exit or dialogue channel exists, they are significantly more likely to reach out once more. Every additional contact raises the odds of a technical slip-up, explaining why detectives despise broadcasted timelines. Press accounts regarding the extortion notes highlight the recurring themes of ticking clocks and massive payouts. Timers build intense audience suspense. Authorities view these cutoffs as hazards that force frantic decisions, which is exactly when critical errors occur during high-stakes financial transactions. Police intentionally drag their feet despite the captor's rush, using calculated replies and proof-of-life requests to kill the momentum. By demanding the source restate their terms, detectives look for the inevitable inconsistencies that emerge through redundancy. Fake claimants might forge a believable note once, but sustaining a facade throughout a long conversation is nearly impossible. Even if a true criminal stays on script, that very uniformity can reveal telltale behavioral habits. Managing the interaction is vital, especially considering how Nancy Guthrie's story deviates from typical cases due to massive media exposure. Having a relative in the spotlight of major news ensures that the disappearance goes viral instantly. Countless viewers far beyond the Tucson area are suddenly familiar with the victim's identity and the core facts. While intense visibility might unearth a vital lead, it simultaneously triggers a problematic chain reaction for the investigation. High-profile searches often get buried under mountains of baseless rumors, forcing law enforcement to filter out white noise generated by online theorists. Detectives must shield the grieving relatives from fraudsters while keeping potential witnesses safe from public scrutiny. Securing sensitive information is paramount, which explains why official police updates remain so brief and guarded. It isn't apathy, it's preservation, as excess chatter can jeopardize delicate progress when new leads begin to surface. Let us examine how these developments align with our premise while respecting the boundaries of the official police narrative. Hearing about a fresh lead usually makes people expect an immediate arrest or a revealed identity. In reality, police begin with a process of elimination rather than a specific individual. During the digital tracking phase, suspects are often pinpointed via two methods, either through specific knowledge only the culprit possesses, information that hasn't reached the headlines or been shared with the general public. Alternatively, a technical blunder during a broadcast can lead directly to the source. Recycling credentials, linking hardware, or revealing habits provide clues. Currently, no one has been officially labeled as the guilty party, and Savannah Guthrie's request reflected this uncertainty. The authenticity of the ransom note remained an unverified mystery for some time. This perspective maintains the necessary objectivity. But why? Precision separates factual reporting from mere gossip, so this section focuses on shifting investigative tides rather than pointing fingers. The reality is that intercepted messages are now core evidence, capable of highlighting a person of interest without needing gruesome specifics. The gravity here is undeniable, as the relatives endure a grueling trial that goes far beyond simple patience. They face the agony of quiet, the stress of unverified reports, and the realization that their every word could trigger an unpredictable response. Such immense strain fundamentally alters an individual, reshaping their very way of speaking. It destroys their ability to rest and shatters their capacity to believe in others. Detectives face a new dynamic, balancing emotional intelligence against digital evidence simultaneously. Once a cryptic text surfaces, it offers zero immediate clarity. It only complicates. This adds a fresh dimension, potentially revealing the actual facts or serving as a clever smokescreen. Witness a direct appeal tailored to this investigation. Should you crave objective facts, confirmed intel, and zero hearsay, join us today. Skip the sensation. Choose accountability. Major breakthroughs in these mysteries frequently occur far away from the lens. Success happens when a single message multiplies, continuing until the sender makes a mistake or a witness finally breaks their silence. Currently, here is the verified record. Local news verifies the relatives admitted getting a relevant note and begged for mercy, even offering cash for her rescue. Media sources affirm that a supposed threat requiring digital currency was delivered directly to a newsroom. However, the mere presence of such correspondence does not automatically prove it is genuine. Official reports indicate that police operations continue while maintaining a very guarded public stance. We are highlighting statements that imply she might be breathing still. This concludes our current update. There is no resolution, only rising tension. When digital threats begin, the focus shifts from public opinion to strategic maneuvering. Everything depends on the antagonist's following action and whether detectives can effectively flip that sequence. Transform that step into undeniable evidence that stands firm, silently, and flawlessly.